Hello and welcome back to another episode of MCTV News. I'm your host, Sophia Chvojka.
And I'm Lavoie. On today's election special, reporters Winsor, Boissonneault, Matthias Kidd, Dylan Weiss, and my co-host Sophia Chvojka brings us reports on all the candidates running in the upcoming Morinville municipal election. But first, here's our top story.
The Canadian federal election took place back on September 20th of this year. Reporter Dylan Weiss interviewed local citizens on why they voted and what they want to see from their new federal government.
As most of you may already know, the federal election is over, with Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party winning a minority government. But before the election was over, we here at MCTV News were wondering if the citizens of the Sturgeon County area had any issues they wanted to see addressed within the next 4 years.
I'm not really sure. With COVID last year and everything just opening up and then closing up and all the changes, I'm just hoping for a little bit of change, maybe something to go back to a little bit of normal, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Less taxation would be a great thing. More promises kept for the common man, like the middleman. Actual progress for work for everybody in the country. That's really all I'm hoping for.
Definitely our employment situation is one of them, and I guess our relationships with each other, fellow Canadians.
Well, the first issue is the amount of debt that this government has accumulated in the last number of years they've been in power. So I'd like to see a party get in that's going to reduce the debt, get our spending under control.
Oh, I think one of the biggest issues is we have one of the most divided countries. I'm 62 years old. Our country's the most divisive and divided country since I was born. And we need to bring this country back together before Western Canada separates from Eastern Canada. And I think, to be honest with you, I think we're on the brink of that. I fear for that.
We then asked those same people why they came out to vote, and the responses were fairly similar all across the board.
Well, civic duty as a Canadian whenever the federal election comes around.
Well, as a citizen of Canada, province of Alberta, I think I have a responsibility to vote.
Because it's my civic duty.
I think our democracy's broken, and I think it's real important to vote. Voting for the People's Party of Canada. I'm voting for change. I don't believe the last 50 years of this pendulum back and forth between liberal and conservative has worked well for our country. I'm a heavy-duty mechanic. I'm a millwright and welder by trade, and I work in the oil and gas industry. And that's the bread and butter of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and northern British Columbia, and we've been totally abandoned by both these parties in the last 10 years.
This is Dylan Weiss reporting on Election Day for MCTV News.
Welcome back. As we make our way into the middle of October, the weather is starting to cool down and the leaves are blowing away in the wind. Here to inform us about what the next 7 days has in store for all of us is meteorologist Boissonneault.
All right, now let's take a look. In Whitehorse, it is sun and cloud with 5. Yellowknife is sun and cloud with 7. Vancouver, there are actually heavy rains and it's sitting at a 12. Regina is 11 with sun. Winnipeg is sun and rain with a 9. In Toronto, we see the storm clouds rolling in, and it is a 21. Montreal is sun and cloud with an 18. Halifax is sun and cloud with a 17. St. John's is raining, and it is 10. And Iqaluit is sun and a 0. Now let's take a look at our provincial forecast. So it is pretty sunny with some cloud. There is a couple rain, but in high level it is sun and rain with a 9. Fort McMurray is sun and cloud with 11. Edmonton is sun and cloud with 14. Medicine Hat is sun and cloud with 16. Grande Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary are all sun and cloud with 13. Jasper is sun and rain with 10, and then Banff is rain and 8. Now let's take a look at our current conditions. It is sunny out. It is 11 degrees. The wind is south, is 12 kilometers per hour going southwest. The relative humidity is 51%. The sunrise is 8:03. It was at 8:03 a.m. The sunset is at 6:36 p.m. Now let's take a look at our 7-day forecast. So it is pretty sunny out. It's all of that. So safe driving weather. Let's take at the highs and the lows. Saturday is 13, Sunday is 12, Monday is 6, Tuesday is 7, Wednesday is 10, Thursday is 11, Friday is 13. Now let's take a look at the lows. Saturday is 1, Sunday is 1, Monday is -4, the coldest temperature, so it might be, just pretty cold, so bring a jacket. Tuesday is -3, Wednesday is -2, Thursday is -1, and Friday is +3. Back to Sophia.
Thanks, Ella. Next up is the first part of our 5-part series on the Morinville municipal election. Reporter Ella Boissonneault interviews council candidates Jen Ann Helliger, Rebecca Belenko, and Nicole Battestein.
With the council election coming up on October 18th, we as a MCTV group got together to provide information about the candidates that the community members can vote for.
I am running because I believe Morinville's future is on the cusp of something great. I bring a lot of passion, drive, experience, and you know what? I'm not afraid to accept challenges. This will be my 4th term, so I've been on council for 11 years. I put some hard decisions on the table for council, and I take pride in everything I've done.
I love my community. I have roots here, significant ones. I've spent 19 years living in our town. I love everything it has to offer. I love how we can rise to an occasion and come together, and I just feel that it's important to represent, it's important to be an advocate and a voice here.
My family and I moved to Morinville 11 years ago, and in that time I really spent a lot of my time volunteering and joining boards and that sort of thing, and I really developed a strong bond with the community and a passion for municipal government.
While candidates share reasons why they are running, they also mention what they are going to do for the youth and the community as a whole.
Youth is a really big passion, of course, outside of council, working with youth, that's a really big thing, and I think so often we talk about future leaders, but our youth are leaders. They're leaders now.
And I think we can employ some initiatives that would encourage us to open the lines of communication with youth and give them make sure we create opportunities for youth to be heard.
I know the town currently has a program, an after-school youth program at the MCCC, but that's not enough. Council needs to sit down and, again, maybe perhaps form a youth council where we can hear from them. Your opinions matter just as much as someone who is 60, 65, or someone who is 18.
I think we need to find new ways, creative ways to engage our residents. So often that's done by way of survey, but I think if we look at options like focus groups and workshops, we can create open dialogue, and that'll really encourage residents to provide their feedback.
We need almost like a quadrant system, and I've said this for the last 4 years, and unfortunately we haven't been able to do anything with it, where you would set up meetings with specific regions of town. So let's say it would be South Glens or it would be the Lakes, and council needs to meet with the residents in this particular neighborhood at least once to twice a year to hear from them, walk through their neighborhood so we can see what they're missing, what they're after, why they want new playground equipment, or what infrastructure they're missing, why their streets are falling apart. If we're not there, we actually can't see hands-on what the residents' needs are.
One of the things when I first was elected that was there was a lot of conversation around was having around a volunteer directory here within town, looking at opportunities to perhaps share some volunteers, because we see some really big shifts with volunteerism. I think one of the really great parts about Morinville and our community engagement is that when we have a cause, people get behind it.
The education and responsibility of the candidates is very important to help residents of Morinville decide who to elect.
I think I bring a thoughtful approach and an articulate process for town building, and I have a proven track record of putting my community first in all of my other municipal roles, and because of that, residents can really trust that I will do the same thing in my approach to governance.
I'm very knowledgeable, I'm community minded, I'm a solid advocate. Stand by what I do. I pride myself on that integrity and the ethics, and I'm sure a lot of folks say that, and I think a lot of people are that way.
I love to talk to people. I'm easy to talk to. I'm open. I'm honest. I'm hardworking. And I am here for the town of Morinville. I am here for our residents, and I will do my very, very, very best to ensure I fulfill everything that you've asked me to do.
As well as make sure to do your own research to better learn about your council candidates. This is Ella Boissonneault reporting for MCTV News.
Here are your school announcements for Friday, October the 15th. MCHS is hosting its first Healthy Hunger Fun Lunch on Thursday, October 21st. The vendors are Mr. Sub and Booster Juice. To order a lunch online, you can go to www.healthyhunger.ca. For these and all other school information, keep connected by listening to the daily announcements, logging onto the school's website at www.mchs.gsacred.ab.ca, or by following the school on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. As well, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by searching MCTV Morinville.
Thanks, Sophia. Coming up next, Matthias Kidd had a chance to sit down with Morinville Council candidates Stephen Defoe, Wayne Gatza, and Sarah Hall. He files this report.
With the Morinville Municipal Council election on the horizon, I interviewed candidates to see how they are going to help the community.
Well, I'm running for council because I think the last 4 years we accomplished a lot. However, there are still some things that when I originally ran for council have not been accomplished.
Since moving to Morinville 15 years ago, this past summer, I've been involved in the community and giving back to the community, participating in different groups. And I wanted to, 8 years ago, serve at a higher level, and that's why I ran for council.
I'm running for council for a couple of reasons. One, to be your voice working for you. Number two is that I see a need to change the current landscape. Our taxes continue to rise. Our residents feel their voices aren't being heard.
As candidates explain why they are running, they express how they will change the view of youth and residents in the community.
Really what I'd like to concentrate on right now, because while we're under so many COVID restrictions that limit any of the use that we can do in the MLC or even the MCC, is really get that streamlined so that we're able to continue with the programming that we already had in place and also bring in the new programs that have been planned.
Well, I think it's very important that we make sure we engage our youth and get them involved as our community grows, and look at the current youth programs that we have and find ways to enhance them.
I will certainly support opportunities where we can have engagement with youth to get their input on things like recreation, trails, programming, all of those things.
Candidates list how they can get youth and residents involved in the community. They were asked on what qualifications they have and why we should vote for them.
The biggest thing that I want to advocate for is restoring the sense of community. When we came here 15 years ago, I felt this community was very tight. And we've lost that over 15 years. And I think once you restore a sense of community, you have civic pride, you have more people providing input to help council make decisions.
So in my volunteer capacity over the last 11 years in the community, that's what I do. So by creating the Morinville Marvelous Moms group, that was able to pull us together and we get involved in different initiatives. And then of course through Adopt a Family, being able to do that, create that and run that every year with volunteers and getting them involved in that.
Well, I think to be qualified to run for council, you have to have a couple of things. You have to have a strong sense of community, and I definitely do that. I did Craft Hockeyville for Morinville back in 2015. So you have to have a strong community sense. You have to be committed. There's no in between. Either you're in or you're out. And I'm definitely committed 100%.
The election gets closer each day. The candidates have great expectations to fulfill for the community. And remember that you can go out and vote at the MCCC on October 18th. For MCTV News, Matthias Kidd.
Welcome back. Here with all the latest scores, including the MLB playoffs, NHL, NFL, and the CFL, is our very own sports analyst, Braden Lavoie.
Thanks, Sophia. In the majors, the Dodgers win a hard-battled series, 3-2 over the Giants with a 2-1 victory. Turning to the NHL, Sabres scored big in season opener against the Habs with a 5-1 victory. Forsberg shines with a dominating 46-save performance, leading the Senators to a 3-2 victory over the Leafs. Kopitar nets a hat-trick and 2 assists in a big 6-2 win against the Golden Knights. The Seattle Kraken earned their first victory in franchise history, winning 4-3 over the Preds. Lightning complete 3-goal comeback twice to defeat the Red Wings 7-6 in overtime. Andre Palat with a game winner. And Verhaeghe scores twice, including overtime winner to lead the Panthers to a 5-4 victory in overtime. In the only game in the NFL last night, Brady and the Bucs keep winning with a 28-22 victory over the Eagles. And finally, here's a preview of this weekend and tonight's action in the CFL. Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary, British Columbia play tomorrow night, and tonight our very own Edmonton Elks play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Go Elks, go. Coming up next, I'll pass the spotlight back to Brielle Windsors as she takes a look at our local mayoral candidates Simon Borsma, Shane Lattiser, and Barry Turner.
It's that time of year again where Morinville residents will head to the polls to elect the future mayor. This election is different from last because there are 3 candidates. Current Mayor Barry Turner is running again, and Shane Lattiser and Simon Borsma are throwing their hats into the ring this year. All of the candidates are united in their goal to make Morinville the best community it can be.
Background in Morinville, I moved here in 1988 with my family. We're here, we're home, and this is just the best place to be.
I'm a proud long-time resident and business owner in Morinville.
Well, I've lived here just under a year. I've enjoyed this community since I moved here, actually.
Each of the candidates comes from a unique background. Borsma immigrated here from Holland, Lattiser moved to Morinville about a year ago, and Turner has lived here since he was a teenager. They also all have their own values and ideas, with what's best for the community being at the top of the list.
Well, I think really what sets me apart is that long-term vision. Municipal government is very much a long-term enterprise.
Fiscal responsible management I've been involved with a lot through my jobs, through my trades, through my business education.
Among my volunteer activities, I'm a former president of the Morinville Chamber of Commerce. I was also the president of the Rotary Club of Morinville.
Taxes are paid by everyone, so they are a common ground when looking for ways to lessen financial burdens on residents. Just as our community changes and grows, so do the families that live in it, and all of the candidates believe it is important to make municipal taxation fair and reasonable for Morinville citizens.
The costs of amenities like the Morinville Leisure Centre or the Morinville Community Cultural Centre, all of those costs are disproportionately borne by residents.
Taxes, however, should not automatically increase each and every year. Instead, council must strive to impose those taxes that are below inflation.
And of course, bringing in more jobs. The mismanagement I've seen, deficits 2 years in a row. I don't believe any government should be in a deficit.
Polling day in Morinville is on October 18th, but advance voting will take place October 9th, 13th, 14th, and 16th. Last year, 23% of eligible voters cast a ballot, so be sure to head to the polls and choose the future you want for Morinville.
First thing I would do actually is return the $15,000 per year raise, put it back into the Morinville coffers. That way we can try to less the taxes.
We want you and your classmates to come home safely every day. Crosswalks at schools and parks, therefore, deserve attention.
We look at number 1 is leveling out that business versus residential tax ratio. I think that's absolutely critical to moving forward.
Youth are an integral part of our community. Young people are the future, and it is important to recognize that. Often, the younger generation's views and opinions are disregarded because of presumed inexperience.
Well, for the youth, I want to engage the whole community through the town's website and get you guys a little thing where you guys want to get involved with the community to help us understand what you guys want more.
There are future leaders, of course, and I have been so impressed by those in our younger demographic.
I think we need to start talking to youth about a youth center for sure. I think it's a very important aspect. I think we tend to forget about the future sometimes and only work for ourselves.
Don't forget to get out and vote on October 18th to have your say in the Morinville election. For MCTV News, Brielle Windsor reporting.
Let's take a look at the upcoming events. This month in film, we are experiencing a flood of new movies with titles such as Pokemon, the movie, Secrets of the Jungle, the latest James Bond movie, No Time to Die, Dune, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, The Addams Family 2, and Hotel Transylvania, Transformia. In the music industry, October brings us titles such as Blue Banisters by Lana Del Rey, Music of the Spheres by Coldplay, Equal by Ed Sheeran, I Don't Live Here Anymore by The War on Drugs, Punk by Young Thug, Future by Duran Duran, and last but not least, let me do one more by Illuminati Hotties. There are a lot of new and popular upcoming video games to be released this October. Back 4 Blood, my personal favorite, NHL 22, Mario Party Superstars, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Jackbox Party Pack 8, and FIFA 22 are just some of those being released. As far as local events are concerned, the Morinville Farmers Market is switching to its indoor location for the remainder of October and November. Join local growers at Rendezvous Center, which is located at 9913 104th Street, Morinville, Alberta, every Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m.
For our fourth council piece, I had a chance to sit down and interview candidates Alan Otway, Scott Richardson, and Marie St. Denis. With the Morinville Municipal Council elections quickly approaching in October, I interviewed candidates Alan Otway, Scott Richardson, and Marie St. Denis about their campaign platforms.
For this election, I'm running again because I feel that I have still lots to offer the community. A lot of my ideas and things that I wanted to do, unfortunately, never came through, especially with COVID. COVID had us kind of pivot and change our direction.
I really would love to create some positive change in this community. The way that so many of my mentors growing up in Morinville, teachers and coaches and parents and neighbors and other elected officials.
I think it's time to have some different decisions with the town councils, not just in Morinville, but all across the country. And I tend to look at things differently and ask different questions than most people, and I'm not afraid to ask questions.
Each candidate has their own fresh ideas and opinions. Youth is an important part of these plans.
I currently oversee a lot of different organizations on a school base with our GSA and with Students' Union, and so I would love to, if elected, form a youth council.
The number one thing I think we can do for youth in the community is to listen to them and to be honest when we talk to them. And I'm hoping that we can find a way to include members of the youth in sessions of council.
You know, I think that we need to engage with our youth more than we are currently. I think that traditional means of newspaper and even Facebook are kind of old ways. We need to find some new innovative ways to reach the youth in Morinville.
What makes these candidates different from each other is their experience and what they bring to the table.
I mean, my last 4 years gave me experience, and as a new councillor, there was a steep learning curve. And in those 4 years, I learned a lot, and I think, you know, this election coming up and my experience right now, I think that day one, I'll be able to start working.
Probably my experiences both in boardrooms and in corporate meetings and that, just an understanding of the value of questions and a voice, bringing perspectives.
I'm a really strong team player. I'm really good and comfortable facilitating communication and collaboration, and I'm also very comfortable in mediation, and so I think all of those things would really lend themselves to council, to our municipal government here.
Having all lived in Morinville for a while, the candidates believe that they have something unique to offer the town.
I'm a strong listener and a strong advocate for our youth and for our family, and you know, I think I would bring a lot of integrity, humility, and honesty to the role of councillor.
Because of my involvement in the community, I think that my track record from the last 4 years was really good. My commitment to council was very high. I think I only missed one meeting in 4 years. And I'm just that active voice for the residents.
I look at things differently, and I'm not afraid to try different things. And people that are upset with past results or the way things are, you can't get all the same people and get a different result.
For more information, you can visit the Morinville website, and don't forget to vote on Monday, October 18th. For MCTV News, Sophia Chvojka reporting.
For our final look at the upcoming Morinville election, Dylan Weiss brings us an interview on candidates Aaron Volek and Ray White.
I interviewed council candidates Ray White and Aaron Volek about their campaign platforms going into the upcoming election for council seats, starting with why they were running.
I'm running for town council because I think there's going to be a lot of important decisions coming up in the next 4-year term, and I'd like to be a part of making those decisions.
I'm running because I've been following the council for the last few years, and I haven't totally loved everything that I've seen. And instead of complaining about it, I thought maybe I would try to do something about it.
I then asked these candidates if they had any plans for the youth community.
I think that one of the things that the town of Morinville needs for the youth community is to bring more small, light industrial business to town. This way, the people from Morinville, especially the youth, can get jobs when they do leave school.
I have seen in other communities where they had like a youth kind of drop-in facility. I think that that's a really cool idea with foosball tables, pool tables, video games, and stuff like that.
Lastly, we asked what qualifications they had for council and why we should support them.
I have been a labor rep for a long time. I've bargained lots of collective agreements, so I'm in a position where I know how to bargain contracts. I also have experience as a trustee and education as a trustee, so I understand the fiduciary responsibility that's involved with being on a council.
I am a military spouse, so I have moved around quite a bit, and I've seen other communities doing things that I keep thinking, maybe we could try that here.
I think that you should support me because I'm going to be change for the community, and I think that it's important that we do make some changes going forward. And I think that voting for me, you're going to see some more responsibility in that area.
I am looking for accountability and a common sense approach to what's going on in council chambers. I feel that we need more transparency and a better look at perception of what our town council is actually doing behind closed doors.
Be sure to come out and vote on Monday, October 18th at the Morinville Community Cultural Center. This is Dylan Weiss for MCTV News.
And that's it for another episode of MCTV News. Join us again on our next episode to hear about local pet store Noah's Ark, students' views on the new Howells block, the Morinville Veterinary Clinic, and a behind-the-scenes look at Landmark Cinemas in St. Albert. All this plus sports and your 7-day Morinville weather forecast on Thursday, October 21st. So Braden, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was actually really good.
Yeah?
How about you, Sophia?
Well, I spent a lot of time with family. Ate a lot of pumpkin pie, far too much.
I'm more of an apple guy myself.
I'd have to disagree. I'd say mine's better. From all of us at MCTV News, I'm Sophia Chvojka.
And I'm Braden Lavoie. Thanks for tuning in.